All right, so good morning.
Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, Prof. I have your exams later. They will call you from
Prof. Good morning.
So I think that this thing is very, very important because now plagiarism is a major issue. Sometimes you submit a thesis and sometimes about 80% similarity index. It means that the person just copied. So there are cases where people have submitted and you have asked them to change the topic and go and redo the whole thesis because everything was, you just lifted it. Somebody's thesis is only, all he did was just to change the name. And we don't want this to happen. That is why we are organizing this training. Secondly, very soon, you are going to submit your thesis electronically. So this hard copies, binding, and all those things will go. So they need to, this training is also good for you to know how you can submit your thesis electronically. We are hoping that maybe next, some of you who have just started, your thesis may be submitted electronically. That's why we are here. So, hey.
Mute everybody.
Modernizing academic research
Everybody.
and scholar.
Another important
Scholarly output as well, like
workshop
thinking
that
and the shifts to electronic.
another thing that if you have time, you can do next time is so we have to write the dissertation or thesis. Oh, can you unmute them?
Mute everybody.
So maybe another time we can get another training on how to write a thesis or dissertation. What goes into abstract? What goes into introduction? What goes into literature review? What goes into materials and method? Discussion, conclusion. It's very, very important so that it makes it easier for you to know when you are writing your thesis, what will go into the abstract. So, but today we are going to look at the plagiarism. I have a program. What is it? 3 minutes. So we're going to go into plagiarism. I'll just give you the introductory of this, and then Miracle will take you through the practical aspect. So briefly, when you talk of plagiarism, what is it? Miracle. It's not moving. No. The slides are not moving. Huh? But say you can see the slides, have you? Can you see the slides?
Yes, Prof.
Okay,
Yes,
so
we can see the slides.
So what is plagiarism? So we are going to define plagiarism. So simply an act of presenting another's work or ideas as your own. Somebody's ideas, somebody's work, and you present it as your own. It means that you didn't credit. If you don't credit the person, whether it's idea or his work, then it amounts to plagiarism. So it's the work plagiarism is so it's come from a Latin word, plagiaris, meaning what? Kidnapper. So if you
Excuse me, as administrator, can you please mute everyone? Prof, sorry about that. You can go on.
If it's far, I can come back in the afternoon.
Yes, I'm doing.
so the word comes from Latin plagiarus, meaning what? A kidnapper. So if you plagiarize somebody's work, more or less you are an armed robber, a kidnapper. So when you use it as a transitive senses, it means that you steal the ideas, the words of another person as your own. For example, if you use somebody's production, somebody has written an assignment, and you go and copy the same. You're using there's a table that somebody has published. You're using the table you are.
It seems that the administrator has muted Prof also.
So if you use it as an intransitive senses, it means that you are committing what? Literary theft, academic theft. You are stealing somebody's ideas because you didn't cite that person. Somebody's work. You're using it, maybe you are writing your discussion. You're using work that somebody has done to support your findings, but you don't cite the person. You don't acknowledge the person. You don't credit the person. It amounts to what? Literary theft, and you have stolen his or her work. So that is, you have plagiarized the work. So why is plagiarism so important? Do you have to care about plagiarism? So literally it means theft of intellectual property. We are stealing somebody's work or somebody's ideas. It also amounts to cheating, academic dishonesty. And because of that, it's a very serious view about plagiarism. Not that if you have plagiarized this thing, your question, you can fail. You get grade 0. Sometimes you'll be put before disciplinary committee because it's a very serious academic misconduct. Sometimes you are even your whole thesis will be rejected, and you'll be asked to go and redo your thesis. I think last year, a similar thing, one of the students, MPhil, and they went through the distance, about 99% similarity index, means that he just lifted somebody's and he just went to this place, Legon this place, and it was there. Somebody's thesis, he just took it. He did not touch it on the wrong even change. The only thing that changes was the name. And because of that, he has to be given another topic to go and redo it. So you have to be very careful about it. It's a very, very important academic misconduct. So it does not matter whether the person who did the work or the person who generated the original idea, whether it is dead or alive. Once you're using his or her idea, you must credit him or her, whether he is dead or alive. Then there are some people who can summarize, or if they translate, or if they paraphrase something, then in that case, once they've used their own words to summarize it, they are not supposed to credit the person, but not you have only changed, you write it in your ideas. Somebody's who need to credit it. Whether you have summarized it or translated it, the idea is not yours. So if you use somebody's even a picture from the internet, you need to cite where the source of that picture. If you have a table that you get it from the internet or any book, you still have to credit the person. So we have two main types of plagiarism. There's one that we call intentional. That one that you are aware, you intentionally did it.
You're not
getting my point. Like there's a place you write it.
Yes.
So you have to.
There are intentional and what? Unintentional. Intentional ones are sometimes you're copying a friend's work, like assignment. There's something like you're marking assignment, one person does it, and then the friend will just go and copy this. That's why it's intentional. Or sometimes you borrow papers. Sometimes you cut and paste the whole this thing, one paragraph, you just cut and you paste it. Maybe from an electronic source for internet. That one is, intentional. If you are in a media, maybe somebody's work, then you just take it, the documentation, you just take it as your own without crediting it. It's intentional. You go to the web or go to the internet. Now the way it is internet, if you even write the topic there, you get somebody who has written this thing on that topic, pasted on the internet. You just copy it. So that one was intentional. Then the unintentional ones that maybe careless paraphrasing. You didn't paraphrase well. I think you understand paraphrasing. You're going to look at it later. If you don't, or sometimes you are quoting excessively, but you don't. Maybe you forgot to add the inverted commas close when you are quoting something, or you don't use your voice. These are all also plagiarism, but they are unintentional. But they are still. So that's the me give so many excuses for me doing plagiarized work. It is okay if I don't get caught. So, but now you'll be caught because your work will be subject to a plagiarism test. So if finally you will be caught, or the assignment is boring, I don't have time, or everybody is doing it, everybody is doing catch and paste, everybody is copying, so I must also copy. I was too busy to write it on my own, so I just went to the internet, saw the design, and just copied it. My lecturers expect too much from me. All these are just mere excuses. Sometimes you may have been told that if you just put something in your own words, you need not cite, but that is not true. The original idea is somebody's. So if you just summarize it or you change it, you write it using your own words, still the idea is somebody's who have identified. So you must credit, you must cite the source, whether you have summarized it, whether you have explained it, whether you have written it with your own words, you must still cite the source. I'll give you in the US some of the things that has happened very politically and because of plagiarism. I don't know whether you know of two important historians, Stephen Ambrose and then Doris Kearns, Godwin. King was a judge in a very popular television thing. And he was asked to step down because he wrote a book on about 50 passages of a book where somebody's idea plagiarized and he didn't cite. So when he was detected, he was asked to step down. The same way for Joe Biden. Initially, when he started, he wanted to be the current US president, when he wanted to be a president, and it was found that in his speeches, he has quoted or he has plagiarized some Joe Kennedy's former president's, some of the West speeches. I know what happened to President, I think Professor Kufuor also, in the first inaugural, if it would be US, it would be a very serious matter. And because of that, there was a problem. Boston global journalist Mike Barnacle, he was forced to resign because he plagiarized some of his columns that he was writing. So it was from the University of Virginia. They did some work, and about 45 students were dismissed. And then 3 graduate theses were revoked, certificates, because of plagiarism. And so this has happened in so many universities, even in Ghana, where people's certificates have been revoked because later it was detected that their theses were plagiarized. So it's a very serious matter that you have to take it seriously. Do I have to cite everything? No, not the film. There are some facts that are, we call it common knowledge. Facts that are widely known, everybody knows it. There are some information, judgments that are considered to be common knowledge. So those ones, you don't need to cite. For example, we all know that Kwame Nkrumah is the first president of Ghana. So if you are writing something and say Kwame Nkrumah was the first president of Ghana, you don't need any citation. It's a common knowledge. You know that the Japanese attacked or Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. This is a common knowledge. Everybody knows. So if the fact is a known common knowledge, then you may not cite the source. But if you are in doubt, cite. That is the caution. If you are in doubt, whether you know that, whether this one is a common knowledge or not, cite. If you are in doubt, cite. But if there's something that is common knowledge, you don't need to cite. If you're, for example, you are discussing your own experiences, your own observations, your own reactions, then there's no need to cite because you are done. If you are compiling what the results of your work that you have done, you don't need any citation. Because if you conduct your survey and you are writing the results of the survey, you don't need any to do any citation. So you are using common knowledge. So in that case, you don't need citation. Sometimes people say, oh, I change only a few words. Even if you change only a few words, you must cite the source. Sometimes there's wrong paraphrasing, but you have to know that the original idea is not for you. So it's important that if you do any paraphrasing, you must cite. You can borrow from the words of others in your own work, but the most important thing is that you must cite the source of that work. There are 3 things that you can borrow, and it is allowed. First one is what? Quoting, paraphrasing, and then summarizing. So you can blend some of these. So you can use quoting in your thesis, in your dissertation, And once you quote and you quote well and with inverted commas and you cite, it's allowed. You can use paraphrasing or you can use summarizing. So let's look at each one of them. When do you do quoting? Quotations are the exact words. Here you are using the exact words of the person, of the actor, directly from the source. So once you're doing that, then you inverted commas beginning and close, you cite, it's allowed in your team. The words are so strong, they are so powerful that you want to use it to support your argument. And so because you don't want to blend, you don't want to reduce the authority of the words that the person has used. So you quote verbatim, directly, word for word, to support your argument. Sometimes you want to disagree with somebody's argument. So you quote the person's argument verbatim, word for word, and then you are your this thing why you disagree with that person's argument, and then you advance yours to disagree with them. Or you want to highlight particularly the eloquence or powerful phrases or powerful, very eloquent, and you want to highlight that those words, then you can do the quoting word for word. Or you are comparing and contrasting specific points of view. If you are comparing or contrasting, so you quote the person, the argument, and then you contrast your contrasting view on that argument. Or you want to note the important research that precedes your own work. So sometimes some of these situations you can use quoting. And once you quote properly and you acknowledge the source, it is allowed. So the quotations must be attributed to the original actor and the source that you use. So you have to use the inverted commas, then you also have to state the original source, the actor. So what is paraphrasing? This here means that you are rephrasing the words of somebody, putting it in your own thoughts, in your own words. So somebody has quoted that something, and you don't want to copy, you don't want to quote, then you change. You rephrase it using your own words. But once you do that, the idea is, although you have changed, is using your own words to state, the idea is not yours. So don't say that you have changed, you are using your own words to write it, so therefore you're not going to quote the source. If you paraphrase, you must what? You must credit the source because the idea is not yours. When do you normally paraphrase? If you plan to use information on your note cards, etc., and you want to avoid plagiarism, then you paraphrase means that you change it using phrase, the sentence, change the words, using your own words. But the most important is that you must cite the source. You want to avoid over quotation, using quotations. Otherwise, your thesis will be full of quotations. If you want to state the same words, and that is also not acceptable. So in that case, you have to rephrase lesson, so that your thesis will not be, there will not be too many quotations in your thesis. Or if you want to use your own voice to present the information, you know this is the information, but I want to use my own voice. I want to use my own language to state the same thing in using my own words. So this is why you look at this sentence, this example. Useless steps are taken to provide a predictable and stable energy supply in the face of growing demand. The nation may be in danger of sudden power losses or even extended blackouts, thus damaging our regional industrial and information-based economies. This is somebody's idea. And if you want to paraphrase this, means that you are rephrasing this thing that you have stated to mean the same. So when you rephrase, the meaning must be what? The same. All that you are doing is that you are rephrasing the sentence. You are changing the words, but the original idea must be there. The meaning must be the same. So if you look at the second part, I'm trying to do paraphrase. I mean, he's rephrasing the first. Though 1999 recommends that the government take action to provide a predictable and stable energy supply because of constantly growing demand. Otherwise, you may be in danger of losing power or even experiencing extended blackouts. These circumstances could damage our industrial and information-based economy. Does it truly represent the first one? Does the paraphrasing means the same as the first one? May not. So you look at this one. So when you go and read and you see that the inadequate paraphrase is going on as plagiarism, even though the material is cited correctly. But if you don't paraphrase well to mean the original idea, then there's also a problem. So we find out that this is the correct phrase. Though the 1999 believes that we must find a more reliable source of energy if you are to have a dependable electricity supply. Without this, the nation's economy base may be damaged by blackouts. See this one, he has simplified it using his own words. The original idea. So that's paraphrasing is very, it doesn't change the meaning of the original idea. In summarizing, you are only interested in the main points. So you are summarizing, you are putting the main ideas, the main points in the idea, using your own words. And they are normally, they are shorter than the original. Sometimes you can have, so that's why those who did literature, so that they can have about 2 pages or 3 pages, this and that, you are asked to summarize. So here you are interested in the key points, key ideas. So sometimes they have 10 pages of a document, and you have asked to summarize it using maybe only 1 page. So you read the whole document, get the idea, and then you summarize. That is also what you call summarize. You put it in your own words, but here you focus on only the key points, key messages in the whole document that you have been given. Summarize. So when do you summarize? Or when you want to establish the background information of a particular idea, or you want to offer an overview of a topic, the whole topic, you want to provide an overview. That is why your thesis, so it's similar to your abstract. You know that sometimes you do a work for about 3 years or 2 years, and in the abstract, you are supposed to summarize all the work that you have done, sometimes about 100 or 200 pages, you are summarizing using only one page. So here you focus on the key aspects, the background information. One sentence, you focus on materials that methods that you did. You use the key findings and conclusion. You're using one page to summarize them to represent all the work that we have done, which are about 100 or 200 pages. So that is what we mean by summarizing, just similar to an abstract of a thesis. When you want to describe knowledge, as of materials, and then you summarize them, you put them into perspectives. Very, so that it's very succinct, very concise. Or if you want to determine the main ideas of a single source. For example, you read an article, about maybe a 10-page article, and you are supposed to summarize all that you are telling you to do. What are the main ideas? What are the key points in this particular article? So you summarize. So take note of the following: include any direct quotes or unique phrases in quotation marks or marked with big Q. Make sure that the writer name is identified. So that if you are quoting, make sure that either you put them in inverted commas or you add right Q and then you identify. So maybe Obio for you 2019. If it's a paraphrase, you can note it with a P, big P, to indicate that it's paraphrase. And sometimes, some of you have to indicate the page numbers, some of the references. So the most important thing is that when you are in doubt, use citation. Just cite the source, and so that you are free. And you have to, sometimes you have to cite your work. For example, if you have done some work for your maybe your undergrad, you did some project work, and then you went to do MPhil, which is in a similar area, and you're doing your literature review. The work that you did, although you did yourself, you must cite it. This is acceptable. If you don't cite it, you also be accused of self-plagiarism. Because once you have published the work, it is there. So when they are doing the assessment, put it into the plagiarism test, it will detect that, oh, this work has been published somewhere. So even your own work, you have to cite it. Although you did the work, you wrote it. If you want to quote it, you want to quote your own words, quote it. You want to paraphrase it. If you want to summarize it. But you must credit yourself. So if you did, maybe you did it in 2019, maybe Martin Utumi, you did the work and you published it in 2019, and you did a similar work, and you're doing your discussion, and you want to support it with your you need to cite your work. Maybe you did it now in 2023, but you have published it. Although it's your own work, you have to cite it. Otherwise, it will amount to self-plagiarism of your previous work. So it is important to note that plagiarism is if you want to prevent it, it's a shared responsibility. The institution, the staff, and the student. You all have a role to play. As an institution, you need to be able to develop plagiarism policies. So you go to all the universities in Ghana, all the tertiary institutions, everybody has a plagiarism policy. So once you are here, you need to get access to the plagiarism policy of Catholic University, where they will lay out the framework, including the types of plagiarism, the consequences of plagiarism, the sanctions, the investigations, etc. Then also, as an institution, you need to get a Turnitin plagiarism software to test the thesis that our students submit. That is why this time, before you submit your thesis, you have to subject it to the university's plagiarism test. So they will give you a link. As soon as you finish, you send it your way to the link, and it will test it and send it back to you. They're giving you the similarity index. So if it's more than 20%, then you have to reduce it to 20%. That's for the undergrad. For the graduate students, 20% is allowed. So that is what the university's responsibility is there. But as a student, you also have responsibility. It's important for you to read the plagiarism policy. It's important for you to ensure that you understand the policy of the plagiarism policy of the university so that you go by it. You have to familiarize yourself with the guidance issued by your faculty, your department, as far as plagiarism is concerned, and go by it. Ensure that you always follow these conventions. That's why today we are going through this. You get the slides so that you know if I paraphrase, I have to still cite the reference. If I summarize, I have to credit the source. If I quote, I have to also credit the source. Once you do that, then you are okay. And it's important. What is investigations and sanctions? As I said, plagiarism is a serious academic misconduct. So you must be very, very careful. Otherwise, you can even be dismissed. The sanctions are very severe when you are caught. But if you caught here, what you do, and recently, I think some of those who submitted the thesis, when they did the test, I think they didn't submit through our system. But although they were given link, they submitted, and some of them are getting 80%. So they are not going to. You have to give them back to them to go and rework on them. So do the right thing so that you are safe. Because there's some of the sanction, written reprimand. You can fail the course. You can be suspended.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. Did I hear you say somebody got 80%? 80% of what, please?
If there's 80% similarity, it means that the originality is only 20%.
Okay.
And the similarity index for graduate is 20%.
Okay.
So when you go to the test and they will indicate to you the similarity than 20%, then you have to indicate where the problem is. So you have to go to we are going to look at it. So suspension, expulsion, or sometimes your certificate can be revoked. Very, very important. Seriously. So as I said, if at the undergrad dissertation, we accept 25% similarity index, but once you are a postgraduate, the similarity index should not be more than 20%. It's very important that you take note. And Malaki will take you through this thing. Once you put it to indicate the level of using colors. If you find out the whole thing is maybe about 200 pages, when you go to, they will indicate it with colors. If it's red, means that the distance is very, very high. Red means that all the distance you just plagiarize. The standard of plagiarism is very, very high. So it's very important. So once you do that, when you go through the test, you can make to reduce the distance by what? By that sometimes it may be due to you are not citing the source correctly. Sometimes you didn't paraphrase well. Or sometimes you're using some people's statistics. Somebody's table, somebody's this thing. You didn't credit it. You're using photographs, images, tables. You didn't cite the thing. You are copying someone else's paper. This is very important. So if you do that, you get read. Or you are padding reference lists. You know, one of the problems that you read a paper, so there's a statement, and the person has cited about 5 references. you have not read those references, then you also cite the same 5 references. Meanwhile, you have not read them. So you don't know whether what you have cited, they were wrong or not. You also cite all the 5 references. So that's the problem. So you have to avoid that. If you want to cite it, then you have to go and read all those references that they are cited. It's very important.